Feels good to be back. Welcome to a very, very special episode of F1 Casuals for the first time this season, for the first time in like
2 years.
2 years.
Wow.
Greg is in the studio.
Let's go.
Welcome back. Well, I didn't post.
Yeah, Greg, we're back in studio.
How are you? Welcome back to Canada.
Hey, let's
Welcome
just
back to
come in.
everybody.
Yeah, let's bring it in for
There
the
we
real
go.
thing, boys. Yeah.
Awkward handshakes.
Casuals.
The
Casuals.
boys.
What can I
Yes,
say?
the boys.
Amazing. It's a lovely hot day here in Halifax. We've got all the windows and everything closed. Otherwise, it'd be
It's cooking in here.
80 degrees. It almost is already. So I think it's about time to crack some of those hunky dories.
You know it, boys.
We told
Let's
you we
get
were going
into
to
it.
get one. We couldn't get to the States because it's illegal.
Finally.
Greg
But
had to
here
come
we
home to
are.
get some, yeah. Cheers,
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 boys.
boys.
Only reason Greg's
Cheers
back.
to the casuals.
Cheers
yeah.
to the casuals. Oh, yeah.
Just as I recall it.
I've had way too
Little
much
taste of
beer
home
this
for you.
summer.
Oh, unreal.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Thank
Yeah.
you, fine folks at Boxing Rock Brewing.
Good job, Boxing Rock. Still sponsoring the podcast, whether they know it or not.
We appreciate your support.
Woo! All right. Well, I mean, we're obviously here to talk about the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring or
Hungaro ring?
Hungaro
Something
ring?
like that. Yeah.
Something like that. It's a pretty technical track. I mean, we were saying earlier, we don't really like it that much, but there was a lot of storylines. Max Verstappen, is he going to get his 7th in a row? I don't know. Are they going to get their 12th in a row? We got to recognize history. And are the McLarens, are they for real? Because we'll get into it, but I thought they may struggle in Hungary because Lando came out after that incredible performance in Britain saying they're shit in the slow to medium corners.
Yeah, don't expect anything.
Yeah, don't
Right?
expect anything in Hungary. Now, maybe he was sandbagging a little bit.
Had to be.
Yeah, a little bit.
Had to be.
You know, tire deg was going to be like the main focus for Hungary. A lot of low to medium speed corners where they would suffer. And
Yeah.
sure enough, man. Yeah. Very impressive.
Very impressive. What was the temp? Was it hot too?
It was hot, man. I think air temperature was like
Yeah.
29. Track temp was in the 50s.
52 or 53.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and that was another thing where McLaren has high tire degradation, so a lot of things seemingly working against them, but it certainly wasn't the case. Let's get into qualifying. First, George Russell.
Oof.
Yeah. Tough day at the office for George, eh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had the pace. I mean, he got caught at the end there. Like you said, track evolution, one of our favorite terms, was a main player, and everyone was going real slow at the end of Q1, trying to be that last lap in. And I guess there's this gentleman's agreement where if everyone's really slow, rolling up, filing into that final lap, you don't pass anyone.
Yeah.
Is
You hold
this-
station almost, you could say.
Yeah. Is that true? Because I've seen cars pass one another before when they're going really slow. Like, I don't know. Is that a real thing?
I think
or-
it was definitely a real thing in the past. You know, when a gentleman's agreement was as good as his handshake, and now, not that it's any more or less competitive of a series, I would say, but like, yeah, those drivers, one result can change your career. I mean, you know, and if you're getting bogged down in traffic and stuff like that, that's not a good situation. So, you know, George said it himself. He's not mad at any particular driver.
No.
I think he's more frustrated with the team and himself for not necessarily like sticking to the bumper of that livery in front of him coming around that last corner. But he got caught out and ultimately didn't get out of Q3 or
Yeah.
Q1. Sorry,
There were
Yeah.
2 or 3 cars that passed him in that little mess there.
Yeah, because it wasn't just, I think Lando kind of started it, and then I think Pierre zoomed by, and by that time he was coming around the corner, and he already needed to put that pedal to the metal, and he wasn't able to, and yeah, P18 for George.
Yeah, he said he was like 3/10 down when he arrived at the first corner already. So
Yeah.
Didn't have that nice little run up that everyone else was benefiting from. So
Not
that kills
caught
you.
out on the marbles too because he couldn't hit the apex of the last corner. To
Yeah,
start
he
his lap.
was real wide, and everyone else had already taken that inside line. Unfortunate for George. What can you do?
Start from 18th and hope you can make your way through the grid. I guess
Start from
you know what I mean?
18.
Yeah.
But without further ado, Danny Ricciardo.
Welcome back, Daniel.
Welcome back. Is anyone doing a shoey today?
We're gonna have to. Yeah.
Greg has nice shoes on, so I don't know if
those,
he's gonna
those
do it.
freshies, you know what I
They're,
mean?
they're pretty new.
He's got the all whites on.
Direct
so.
from the Nike employee store in Portland.
Ooh, there we go.
Ooh,
Yes,
shout out
sir.
Nike. Yeah.
I might pour in the old Reeboks. They're a
Right.
couple of years
Is
old.
this a
at
group
this
shoey
point.
going down then?
I mean, yeah,
shit,
it
all right.
doesn't-
I'll drink from your guys' shoes. I don't mind.
Hey, why not? Max did it right for Danny.
He did, yeah.
So Danny back in the AlphaTauri. Last episode, it was pretty much confirmed. We speculated, kind of being like, all right, this is basically happening. Nick DeVries out of that seat. At this point, I kind of feel bad for him. He's now taking a break from social media after that one posting a child pic of him. And
Oh man.
yeah, it really pulled on the heartstrings.
Yeah.
And it kind of humanized everything. We talk about these, any professional athlete. I think sometimes we fail to see them as fellow human beings, people. And I think Nick kind of got the short end of the stick, which any underperforming driver will get in Red Bull. But I just hope that he doesn't get a lot of hate from fans. I don't know if there's really AlphaTauri fans, but Red Bull fans, trolls. Obviously, I've been like, hey, he's 28. He's got to go. But at the end of the day, he's a human being. So happy trails. We wish him well. I'm sure he'll be back in something, maybe back to Formula E.
Yeah, he'll compete in another series, and we might see him as a third driver situation next season.
That's true.
And that will still allow him to get simulator time, lap time on break days and stuff like that for testing and stuff like that. And hopefully he can stay in Formula One and get back in. But hate to see you go, but happy to see Danny back too. So
Yeah. Sad part of the sport, but yeah, again, when a window closes, a door opens, or whatever the hell the saying is, and no better guy to come back through that door than Danny Ric.
Exactly. Just look at Alex Albon. I mean, you thought that his career might have been over, and now he is revived and rejuvenated with Williams.
thriving.
But we're not talking about Williams. We're talking about Danny Ric back in F1 with a pretty shit car.
Fair statement.
But he got out of Q1.
To be honest, that's what I was just hoping for.
Same.
Get out of Q1, see what you can do from there. But yeah, nice to see him get through there and get that monkey off his back early.
Very.
And now qualifying Yuki as well. Too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We got to pick
that's his
favorites now.
That's his first objective, right?
Yeah.
He's got to have better results in qualifying and in the race than Yuki. So
Yuki's got to feel, I don't know.
stressed,
Pressure.
pressure. Yeah,
And I think this is a real good test for his character, what he's made of, because we know he's a little fiery.
Yeah.
And he's still a little bit inexperienced with strategy and, responding to the pit wall.
right.
So how is that going to go when he's head to head with Danny Ric, both guys who are incentivized and motivated to maybe fight for a Red Bull seat down the line? So gonna get dicey.
Got to
Big
level
time.
up, Yuki.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a more focused driver on the grid than Daniel Ricciardo right now.
Fair.
Yeah, very fair.
Revenge tour.
Extremely motivated. Yeah, that's right. Revenge tour is right. Put all those Renault and McLaren woes behind him and back home where he belongs, as he said.
I don't know if you guys caught it on the broadcast, but Nico Rosberg actually coming to Danny's defense a few times, because I can't remember the other commentator was mentioning, his struggles at McLaren, his struggles at Alpine, and then Nico just piped up and said, whoa. He didn't struggle at Alpine. Like, he put that thing in good positions frequently and consistently.
Podium.
Exactly. So
Well, a lot of people said that going to McLaren was a bad call because it looked like Renault and him, they were going the right direction. I think the question marks with the rebrand and then Cyril leaving, that might have had something to do with it. And then, of course, the nightmare at McLaren. Even though they had a 1-2 at Monza, like he had a victory with McLaren, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that might not necessarily been on merit due to what took place in that race with Lewis and Max, but
Right.
a lot of cars didn't fit, and that's what Danny Ric said. He's like, do way back, I remember it on DTS, he's like, am I able to finish first on merit, or does it require other cars not finishing? So I think he'd take a lot of that into account.
Yeah.
But back in the Red Bull family.
and it did result that race in a tattoo. Zach Brown.
That's right.
Has that Monza
That's right.
tattoo as a
He's got
result.
Did he get it? Didn't Cyril have to get a tattoo as
Yeah,
well?
I guess he got it on his ankle. I did see the footage. Yeah.
Not on the ass.
I didn't see
cheek.
that. I guess it was like a honey badger on his like lower right ankle area or something like that. I never saw the finished product. I'm sure
Okay.
it's out there, but I know it went down.
What's Cyril doing these days?
He is still involved in Formula One, a subsidiary of Renault, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. But he's
they will.
involved with tires.
Come for him in the comments.
Something like. Don't worry, we're watching. But yeah, not directly under the Alpine Renault banner anymore, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
That's another personality I think we could afford to have back. In
I was going to say,
Agreed.
great,
Yeah.
great
Prominent role.
character.
I love the banter with him and Christian. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What a
know.
time to be alive. So, and we'll
time
see what
to be
happens
alive.
next.
We certainly will. All right, so we want to get Danny Ric out of the way there because we'd love to see him back. Maybe a shoey coming later. Watch to the end of the episode. Yeah,
There's your
that kind of
incentive.
thing.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Yeah.
Watch till the end. Don't you dare skip through. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, check out YouTube because you don't want to miss this. I wonder what if like people who only listen on podcast platforms are like, fuck YouTube. No, I'm not going there. I'm watching a video.
I'm in the car.
I'm in the
you know
car,
what I mean? I'm in the
cuz.
office, whatever.
Be
Yeah.
watching video, but
Hey, we're just trying to please everybody, right?
yeah, trying to please everyone, and you don't want to miss a shoey. We'll probably put it on Instagram, anyways. But
Oh, yeah.
one of the big storylines going into this this race week was not anything to do with teams or drivers, but the new tire allocation for qualifying. Now they were supposed to do this earlier in the year. I can't remember which.
They were
race
talking about doing
was.
it in sprint races, too, I think.
Yeah, and sprint races as well. But the way it works is Q1, everyone on hards. Q2, everyone on mediums. And Q3, everyone on softs, which that is typical. Most drivers are on softs in Q3, but not always the same in Q1 and Q2. So that really shook things up. And unfortunately for our boys at Aston Martin,
Yeah.
who are, falling back behind the rest of the pack on merit, also struggled with this new tire strategy.
I'd just like to provide a little context too. The reason Formula One is doing is this is all about emissions. So this is all about how many tires are actually transported to race weekends. Yeah, this is the primary caveat or motivation for this is carbon emissions, and so they want to fly less tires essentially around the world. So if they can reduce, 2 to 3 sets per team, well, that's 30 times 20 or whatever.
I mean,
right?
that's fair. I thought it was like an NHL thing where they're trying to do anything they can to make it more exciting.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily like entertainment value motivated.
Okay.
I would have to think that might be a factor just to try to mid-season level it a little bit or without, impacting the rules or anything else too much. But did they go from 13 sets allocated to 11?
Yeah, I think
for
they
this
dropped 2 sets per team. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, 20 times 3 sets or whatever.
We
20
got the
times 2
numbers
sets.
on the emissions.
Who
saved.
knows? Yeah, no, I'm not doing that deep of a dive, but yeah, that's kind of the motivation. And for me personally, anything's better than a sprint race. So
That's fair.
And I quite like the way it did shake up the grid a bit.
Same.
So
It did.
do I like
Yeah.
it? Not sure yet. Do I dislike it? No, I'm okay with it for now. I want to see it more, and we'll see if it continues to shake up the grid because, for not necessarily the most entertaining race at the Hungaroring, I did believe it brought a little added excitement.
Definitely.
Fantastic quality. I think we can all agree qualification was one of the top so far this season, I think.
Colley's been good almost all year. Consistently, qualification has been maybe more fun to watch than the race.
Almost. There's
On the
definitely been a
whole.
lot of surprises for sure.
Yeah, that has a lot to
Absolutely.
do with Red Bull, I think. But
Yeah, that's fair.
But
Yeah.
it's nice to kind of get geared up for Saturday and Sunday and be all in on both.
Yeah.
I think everyone that's watching
Absolutely.
probably feels that way.
And one of those big surprises, Mike, was Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, new power unit.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, for
I wanted to
both.
figure out what the hell was going on there.
Both Valtteri and Guan Yu Zhou had brand new power units. It's a good call, Greg. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
wow.
added power. And, Martin was kind of, saying like, well, they shouldn't really lose that much pace over 3 to 4 races. But, those fresh horses in the Alphas certainly pumped them up the grid. That's for sure.
Ferrari engines?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Go figure.
Interesting.
So
And they did-
inevitably, reliability becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So a new engine every race, right?
Yeah,
Haas, you're next. Yeah.
Still though, like even though they have a new power unit, it's Alfa Romeo. It's not like a top team, so it's still impressive for them. New engine or not,
Yeah.
to qualify. Was it P5 for Joe?
Yeah.
Hats off to him, but we'll get to you later in the race, you idiot. And P8 for Bottas. I hate saying that. Joe is such like a likable guy.
Yeah, it was awesome seeing him up there.
Very unfortunate what happened on the. Well, he took
Start of the race there. Yeah.
took a page out of his teammates' book. But hats off to them for that great qualifying session. Both getting into Q3. I think for the first time, both of them.
It had to be.
Definitely
Yeah, it must
this
be.
season.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
ever.
Oh, yeah. 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 Not ever, but definitely this season. Yeah.
Definitely this season. And Checo did make it into Q3, but another disappointing qualifying overall.
Yeah.
I wasn't fooled this time. I knew he would climb back up the friggin' grid in the race, so I had him in my team, so I'm not too upset about him. But he's just not finding that qualifying pace.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pressure's on, continues to be on for sure.
Yeah.
Nice, as you said, though, nice to see him battle back. But that one lap pace for Checo struggling. I think he had a little struggle with track limits a bit too. Some other drivers did. I know sometimes were deleted yet again. But
cracking down.
Yeah.
Big time.
Are they ever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Keep it between the lines.
rules are rules.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I think it was Martin Brundle that said it's like adjusting the goalposts in soccer.
Yeah, he
That's pretty good.
made reference to like the
Yeah.
rubber goalposts, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that's fair. So we're getting to the end of Q3, and Max puts in a pretty good time. He's at the top. They had a new front wing, which maybe didn't get the performance they thought they would get based on.
Or at least for like hot lap.
A hot lap. Yeah, I mean, the race, what is he, plus 30 seconds? We'll get to that. But it was Lewis Hamilton snagging at the end of Q3 his 101st pole. That's incredible. His first pole in 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe over 2 years, which is crazy to
Saudi
think.
or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
it's
Yeah, I
been
can't
that
remember,
long.
but, yeah.
I'm sure he knows exactly how many days and like to the minute
Yeah.
since his last pole. But it was same thing as Q1 where George kind of got screwed. Lewis just crawling into that final turn. And it was interesting because I think it was Crofty or maybe it was Martin Brundle saying, they're cooling those tires down. Or they're not cooling the tires down, but the tires are cooling down when you're crawling to that first turn. And it's like, are the tires going to get turned on in time to put in a great lap? Well, the answer came pretty clear when Lewis crossed that finish line and grabbed pole. And I think everyone loved that.
Mega. Absolutely mega lap from Lewis. I know they commentated on this on the broadcast. It wasn't necessarily the pace of the livery. Lewis totally outshined that vehicle that he had underneath him. And for 3/1000ths of a second to gain pole, he squeezed every millisecond he could out of that. And again, results haven't necessarily been there over the last couple of years, but clearly the talent is still there. So kudos to you, Lewis, because that's a mega lap.
Yeah, I think that was vintage Sir Lewis Hamilton right there. Fun to watch. And like we were saying a few minutes ago before we went on here, but wasn't purple in any of the sectors and still got it done against Max's rocket ship.
Sometimes you don't have to be perfect. Just got to be good at the right times. And that was awesome to see. You mentioned there, Mike, 3/1000ths of a second. And the gap between first and 10th was the smallest gap in qualifying since the 2001, I believe.
Whoa.
Brazilian
2001
GP.
Jesus.
And it was Rubens Barrichello who had pole and Fernando in
Wild.
qualifying
Young
10th.
Nando.
Yeah.
I believe it was 10th. That wouldn't make sense if they're like 1 to 8. No, it's got to be 1 to 10.
I hadn't come across that stat yet. That's phenomenal.
That's a great
right?
stat, Mark.
Crazy stat. And that's kind of what the new liveries have been able to provide is very close qualifications, which is nice. I mean, they probably would like to see a bit more battling within the race itself. But qualifying is competitive, and that's great to see. So Lewis hats off to you. Cheers to
Cheers
the
to
Cheers,
Lewis.
Lewis. Cheers. Great poll. Yeah. Cheers, boys. Cheers to the catch.
Furthers his record of 104 poles. So we had Lewis in pole. Great to see. Max right behind him. The two McLarens, Lando and Oscar, P3, P4. I did officially change my fantasy team. Aston Martin, constructor, out. Still got Fernando and Lance on the team. It's just Lance is a bargain at this point. But Oscar, Lando, and McLaren in. For those of you unfamiliar, you get 5 drivers and 2 constructors. And I got Max as well.
How could you not?
You have to have Max. He's expensive, but you have to have him.
It's like Haaland in FPL.
Exactly.
You have to have Erling Haaland.
You have to have Holland. So I should have made that change before the Hungarian Grand Prix, but I didn't. Lesson learned. Made the change, and they were great in the race. Joe, of course, with that very nice P5 qualifying.
Yeah, and he was in it all 3 qualifying sessions too. Like he was putting in top 5 times all the way through. So
Great to
wasn't
see.
just a one-off lap.
Great to see. And then you had, Charles was P6. Actually, Bottas P7 qualified. So
Yeah.
5 and 7, really nice. You had Fernando right behind him, doing everything he can to keep that Aston Martin competitive.
Yeah.
We had Checo in 9th and Nico 10.
Yeah, Hülkenberg.
Sneaky good qualities from those Haas boys every once in a while.
Right?
Yeah.
Nico's putting together a great year despite the unreliability of the Haas.
Yeah, they've struggled.
Haas has come out and said they've made it their priority to re-sign Nico.
Good.
that's
He's
good.
So-
for me, just watching him come back into Formula One has been tremendous. But Magnussen also coming back into Formula One, you could say,
Right?
And K-Mag definitely had the better results at the start of the season. Now Nico's consistently, been ramping up, and moving up higher the grid and with the results as well. So I think he's actually kind of maybe outscoring K-Mag.
I think
now.
he is just very consistent. Doesn't really often make mistakes. Does get some bad luck because that's how it goes in a Haas. But yeah, Nico priority, K-Mag not so much.
Wow.
In fact,
Interesting.
he may not come back next year.
Just gave birth to his second child. Congratulations, Kevin, to you and your family. And yeah, much like, I know a little bit different career spell or whatever, but Sebastian Vettel, stepped away to be a family man, and we might see the same from K-Mag at the end
You
of the
never
year.
know. The memes going around since the announcement of the birth is that 9 months to the day he got pole in Brazil.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Hey, man, got to celebrate, right?
You gotta do it. You gotta capture those moments. So yeah, very nice for Nico in 10th. Carlos didn't actually get into Q3, starting P11. Shout out to him. We're not gonna do the rest of the grid, but rough. Also, Lance, God damn it, what are you doing,
Come
bro?
on, buddy.
He was in.
I was actually
14th.
I was actually thinking last night. I was like, would that? And I'll use it because I think it's. We don't use this term very often, but I will use it on this one. And I believe the one that was advocated not to use it. But I believe. What if Daddy Stroll
Stroll?
bucks?
Daddy Stroll.
Yeah, I think he's back, and I think he's going to have to buy a feeder team just to appease his son.
Wow.
Okay, we
Yeah.
talked about this. Buy Haas.
Yeah, we did talk about
Gene
this.
Selling.
Right?
Rebrand it as Jaguar.
Wow.
You got a couple votes here.
The
that's
two
for sure.
greens, the two green
Yeah.
teams,
British Racing
two
Green.
British legacy teams. If I was Lawrence, that's what I would do.
Interesting.
Me too. Just to keep it less awkward at Thanksgiving. But honestly, like my brother-in-law Jeff asked me about this. He's like, "Do you think he would ever get rid of it?" And I was like, "We've talked about this on the pod."
Yeah.
Ultimately, money talks. I think Daddy Stroll is real into the competitive, nature of the sport now that he's invested so much in it. He wants to win. He
Yeah.
wants to be top dog. So
And at what point do you have to make that impossible decision to, results versus family love, maybe?
Well, we once again, we talked about this, and people who are avid listeners know Lawrence has put together a very competitive organization.
Yes.
yeah,
And they want to win. They don't want to see Lance have a good time out there and make sure that he's happy. No, they want championships.
Yeah.
So you don't want that virus to get into the minds of Aston Martin. And I mean, if I was a betting man, I think he's got one more year left after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows?
I don't know. The cavalier approach for me too is just something that I definitely take into question. If he's this cavalier when it comes to reporters and whatnot, is he this cavalier about his preparation, sim time, everything? Like, I know he's a consummate professional.
Yeah.
But you got to keep putting in the work, and you have to take this very seriously. Because again, like you said, there's been tremendous investment at the production facility. They built a brand new building,
tunnel.
right? Yeah, everything. So, and ultimately that comes down, all of that work goes in to the performance of the driver, and if that driver's not stepping up, but then again, the awkward situation of a son driving for a team owner.
Is that what Lance? Maybe Lance doesn't even. I mean, maybe he'd be chill about it. He seems chill about most things. Maybe be like, yeah, I'm gonna go, try the Tour de France now because I'm a billionaire son. I can do whatever I want.
Probably not ready to get back on the bike yet.
Maybe not. Yeah, you picked up on that joke there.
Yet.
Well, that's another thing. Actually, is like maybe those wrists still aren't healed. I know coming into that season,
He rushed it.
He put in that amazing P6 at Bahrain. Yeah. But maybe he
At what cost?
At what cost, right?
Is that what we're seeing now? Yeah. Great question.
I mean, is he getting injections? You know what I mean? Did it fully heal? You know what I mean? Like,
you never know.
Yeah,
well,
maybe.
touch and feel is so important in the Formula One car because you basically are the car. So if he's delayed,
I mean, these guys, all of them in F1 are capable. They're all less than a second off of one another in the same car if everyone was out there. But it's that, right? It's that mentality. It's that difference between the Maxes, the Lewis, the Fernandos, and the Pierres and the Lances and the
Nick DeVries.
DeVries.
Valtteri to an extent.
The Valtteri, he doesn't, I mean, he's just there for
Post Mercedes has been very relaxed for Valtteri.
He's chilling. Yeah. So, I think it's really that killer instinct that I think it's hard to have as a billionaire's son. I know that's like maybe unfair to him, but it's harder to have when you're just, kind of given every opportunity.
Get a podium, Lance, and we'll shut up,
Yeah, just get a podium. But I don't know anymore. I mean, that time is maybe past this season.
With the performance of the car lately, it's a steep climb. And I think one thing, first and foremost, I think we all are still Lance fans. We're pulling for him as a fellow Canadian and a good guy. Obviously, he's a likable guy. But, he got to get it done real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're talking about anyone upset. We're talking about Lance the racer, not Lance the human being.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, two different people.
Well.
Now, same person. All right. Okay, let's get into this race. And the question on everyone's mind is how long before Max goes into first and runs away with the race. And it didn't take long. It was the first turn. Everyone was a little worried because of what happened with Bottas a couple of years ago, Pinball Nation. And
we did see a little bit of that, unfortunately.
We did see a bit of that. Max made the pass, and actually Lando and Oscar were able to get through, and Lewis was in P4 before we knew it. But there was chaos behind. Joe having probably his worst start to a race other than Silverstone when he ended up on his head.
Oh.
That was very scary. Luckily, he walked away from that. He stalled out. Everyone passed him. And then by the time we got that thing going, he was behind Danny, who started in P13. He braked too late. He locked up. He tapped Danny. Danny went into the back of either Pierre or Pierre, who then got hit into Esteban. You had the pinball action again. The Alpines both out after 2 laps. Too much damage. And Danny, who had a great start, was also back into
he got caught
P18 after that. And Joe got a 5-second penalty and ended up in 15th after starting 5th, just a mere 10 seconds before that moment. How does that happen?
How does that happen? That's how
Greg's back in the studio.
You know it.
Hunky dory.
Yeah. Brake temperature, tire temperature, and then also just trying to make up for a poor start. You know what I mean? Gain those milliseconds, those tenths or whatever, those precious meters into those braking zones. And totally caught out and knock-on effect, you know what I mean? Which resulted in both Alpines double DNF, and that's 2 races in a row.
That's a
for
double
Alpine.
DNF.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Not the double we like here in Canada, that's for sure.
Oh,
but
yeah. Frig.
yeah, extremely disappointing for the entire team as they were having a good weekend and we're looking on for points. But and then obviously very disappointing for Danny Ric.
Unfortunate because I mean he was competitive and he was able to put together a half decent race after the fact, but it looked like maybe he was maybe a top 10 wasn't out of the question.
Points. Yeah.
Points for Danny again. But yeah, too bad for Joe. He actually was quoted saying that he needs to talk to the team about why that stall out happened. I guess it wasn't maybe a driver error.
Wow.
I
So
think-
no anti-stall, nothing like that.
I don't know. I mean, the Alfa Romeo has had issues
Yeah.
with starts in the past, so we'll keep an eye on that, but not too much of an eye because it's Alfa Romeo and whatever.
But a few things on that
Not
opening
for much
lap.
longer either. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Danny Ric coming out of that and finishing the race and getting that out of the way too. I think that was huge for him too.
Big
To
time.
be able to just like readjust, refocus, and get back in it, pretty big. But somewhere, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds were crying in their
I
omelets watching this race with
know.
these DNFs. Come on.
And is that the first race after they made their investment? Or?
Second. They've
Okay,
had
yeah.
two.
Yeah.
They haven't had a race or
I was
finish.
going to say it wouldn't be so bad if it was the first one, but if it was the second, yeah.
That might have actually been the third race. Like it was almost a month ago now. I think it was the third race where they got like half decent results after the. Or I mean, it was the announcement of the takeover, so maybe it hadn't gone through yet.
Imagine
To be
being
honest,
the
don't
financial
know.
advisor that made that recommendation,
Stable team, good
Yeah,
drivers,
yeah.
2 DNFs.
Success is on the horizon.
That's
reliable.
rough. That's rough. So, yeah, not a great start right off the bat, but a great start for Max, and he pulled away and never to be seen or heard from again. I think he ended up finishing the race. What was it, 30 seconds ahead?
Ish, yeah, I know. I the stat that I saw was that he was 40 seconds ahead of the
Wow.
Ferraris. So.
That's so
Yeah,
insane.
it was definitely plus 30. But whoever was waving the blue flags all race probably got a good shoulder workout in because that
I would
was
say.
crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of blue flags. The McLarens, I mean, Lando was upset later in the race
Yeah.
that Yuki was holding him up, which is unfortunate. Our boy Yuki.
And I think Yuki was probably pissed off at some point too. You know, what I mean,
Yeah,
about the
I know,
same
right?
issues. So
I think he held up Lando and Checo for like a whole lap. But, I mean, obviously it didn't affect Lando's race too much, finishing P2 very nice. We'll get to the end of the race
solid.
later. But those McLarens, 2-3, very nice. And they were pulling away from Lewis.
they were.
And after that pit stop, I don't know what happened. Like Lewis went in the pits first, and then Oscar went in, and then because Oscar actually was in second.
Yeah.
Correct, and they
Or
pitted
no,
Lando.
Lando went in first.
Yeah, exactly. So Oscar was in second. They pitted him first, had one hell of an outlap, and then ended up in P2 or was ahead of Oscar, after the pit stop.
Now-
first stop.
I thought the first driver gets priority, and by first I don't mean Lando's like the senior. I mean Oscar was in first ahead of Lando, or in second.
I think there was a discussion on the fairness of the whole thing, but where it was a 2-stop minimal race, I think there was speculation that they'd flip the order next time if the pace was there, kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely would have felt a little hard done by.
Not the first time we've seen that too. I can remember that happening with Valtteri and Lewis a number of times. I can remember that happening with Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber a few times at Red Bull. So clearly, and Ferrari, they're not scared to do that type of stuff either. So it's just, as much as teams
Ferrari.
declare we have no first driver, typically the driver that would be ahead in the points would probably get the first stop regardless of track position.
Yeah.
And also everybody's got a favorite. We know Zach and Lando are pretty tight. So
And the
sucks
rookie's
for the
not
Australian, but
I think like Oscar is a consummate professional.
Extremely.
I'd love
That's
to
a
have him on
really
the team.
tidy partnership forming there with this car that has some performance now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And credit to Oscar, did the legwork, clearly puts in the sim time, and that's translating to on-track results.
Yeah, it seems like didn't seem humble in DTS at all. Like
No.
when they showed him, interviewing with Weber and that whole fiasco to land him there in the first place. But lately,
Yeah.
he's just like really, satisfied with the development of the car and everything going on in McLaren. So
I
that's
love
good
the
to see.
confidence, too.
Oh yeah, and with all the question marks with Alpine, I think he definitely made the right decision.
I think so.
I would say so.
So yeah, great to see McLaren back. Has this ever happened before where a team that started so poorly,
completely sucked.
Terrible. Like,
It was a lawnmower.
Zach's on the hot seat. Zach's gone.
I mean, at the
Like-
beginning of the season, we were talking about that. You know,
Yeah.
we were discussing that. Like, how long is Zach going to be around?
And now they're on merit. They're the second best constructor, second best car out there. And I said this in past episodes. You know, Lando and Oscar, both potential future world champions, looking real nice.
Yeah.
Agree completely.
Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah.
Hakkinen.
Another, we got to shout that guy out again.
Like,
Who is
if,
this guy?
if McLaren makes another, important upgrade and Red Bull stumbles maybe just a bit, it's probably not going to do anything. But we can wishfully think that it will.
Oh, I'm hoping, praying, crossing fingers and toes and everything. I do not want to see a Red Bull sweep of the season.
Oh God, don't even put that in the universe.
Hey, well, it's. I mean,
It could happen.
We're we're coming up on summer break.
could
Season's
happen.
more than halfway over, I believe now.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, we have one more race before summer break,
Yeah,
which is your
right?
favorite track,
Yeah.
by the way. We'll get to that.
And then Max puts in his biggest margin of the year. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It turns out, the race pace is back. It's so funny, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, look, they're kind of catching up. Like, only 10 seconds last week.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, just kidding. Like,
I lost my shit when Lewis put that time in Q3
Yeah.
and thought maybe we will have a race
Right?
here. No.
right?
No, we
yeah.
didn't.
Not
It's gonna take
even
for me. It's gonna
close.
take a corner one incident. Like it's gonna
Yeah,
take
that's it.
contact, right?
Max has to be taken out of the race.
Or the engine
There's-
catches on
Or the
fire.
engine,
Yeah,
that's-
which
that's
doesn't
it.
look like it's gonna happen
No.
given
God,
the
that car's so
Red Bull
reliable.
Adrian
reliability.
Newey, like, give him a Nobel Prize.
Genius.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
might be alien.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
our
Using
hottest
that
take of the year.
space aerodynamics. Yeah.
For real. On the other end of the spectrum, Ferrari.
Oh,
It's time
It's
for
time.
Greg's favorite segment.
Love it. Yeah.
Give it to us.
Yeah.
Are you referring to the Ferrari fuck up?
You're goddamn right.
roast them?
It looked like Ferrari had absolutely no strategy.
Oh man, and two belligerent drivers on
Like-
the radio.
What's
Yeah.
going on there? So Carlos had a good start. He was on the softs,
Yeah.
Charles on the mediums, and it looked like Carlos needed to get through. Charles was holding it up. I mean, kind of, it's just simple math, right? Softs are faster than mediums 9 times out of 10, unless you're Max. And Ferrari said no, but there wasn't really
Yeah, they were dicks about it
no,
too.
Yeah, there's no plan. There's no plan at all.
It's got to be infuriating as well, especially for Carlos, given, on the softs, has the pace, teammates holding him up. He knows he can be 10 seconds up the road, which will benefit Ferrari in the long run.
Right.
Right?
Like, come on. But yet again, favoritism, no first driver, but clearly that's the situation at Ferrari. And we've seen in the past, especially this season too, where, favoritism has definitely been showed towards Charles. And, I feel for Carlos. I feel, and then again, like Ferrari wants to balance it out by what we saw in the later stages of the race where they kind of had swapped positions. But that wasn't team orders. And I honestly feel that it by them holding Carlos up in those early stages, it compromised both liveries
100%.
throughout the entire race.
Oh yeah. And they were getting snappy with them. They're like, it's fine. Like, we know what we're doing. It's like,
Do you? Do you know what you're doing?
serious?
Like, looking back too, can you imagine how difficult it would have been to manage the relationship from both sides with, like, think of how much of a mismatch of personalities it was between Sebastian and Ferrari.
Right.
But then dial it back a little, like, imagine Kimi Räikkönen dealing with that kind of management and strategy. It's just,
Now I understand why Kimi
Thanks.
has like no response or reaction to anything anymore. Maybe was he always? I mean, he's been
He's
the
a
Iceman.
robot.
He's always been like that. But I think Ferrari may have pushed.
Nice
Woo!
save.
wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of push him over the edge. Yeah, I guess I was reading an article before we got on this recording that Ferrari for 2024 is changing their philosophy and their car. It seems like this
You
is
don't
more
say.
speculation from Italian reporters, just wishful thinking, hoping to God that something changes in that garage at Maranello. It doesn't seem like it's going to change anytime soon.
I mean, where do I start and where do I finish? Because it's all bad.
How much time you got?
It's all bad. Like it's just really, really bad. And to have your finger on the pulse at Ferrari, I mean, step up and let us know because we're all very interested. It just seems counterintuitive, counterproductive. Like you're going to hold your slower driver up. You know what I mean? And that's going to compromise both of them, which we saw in those later stages, especially after the penalty and whatnot. And then George being able to scream back. Like that would not have been an issue. And probably wouldn't have even had to force Charles to be so aggressive coming into the pit, too. I know we haven't kind of touched on that yet.
Oh, that 9.4 second pit stop?
God.
And the 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yes,
Charles,
he locked up.
Yeah,
up,
Charles, big lockup. As soon as I saw him come around and hit that gap, he comes around the corner into the pit lane. He's off the track, and he hit the gas out of the corner. It's like he'll never make the line.
He's
And
ripping.
both tires smoking when he was right there.
Ripping.
Yeah. So I think all of these culminate in putting the drivers under more pressure, unneeded pressure by the team.
Here's my hot take. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc will not be Ferrari drivers in 2026.
Both of them, or
Both.
Wins.
Wow.
Charles got the long deal, but yeah, that's probably not outlandish, man.
Yeah.
I think Lewis retires. Charles goes to Mercedes with George, and Carlos goes to Aston Martin.
We've been pushing that one for a while.
we haven't
I'm
we?
speaking it into
Interesting.
existence.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
would be lovely.
Yeah. Place your bets.
Place your bets. Speculation just before we move on from Ferrari that Alex Albon has been in talks with Ferrari. He
Yeah.
put those rumors to bed, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
I
like,
don't
don't
see that
I don't
as
want
a-
to be
I don't see that as a
associated with that
possibility.
garbage. And Williams, obviously, we've touched on this in past episodes. They are going this way.
they are.
I'm pointing up for those of you listening, and Ferrari's going, anywhere
the
but
shitter.
forward. Yeah, in the shitter, down the toilet.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
It's a shame.
Counterclockwise.
It really is. Carlos did start P11 and finish P8, but it's still not great.
These are mediocre results for a
Yeah.
team that is supposed to be on the podium each
a
weekend.
team that's a year removed from competing with Red Bull for the championship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Seems like other teams are still like in the GP, showing them some respect, like referring to the Ferraris and managing their own strategy around them. But that's down to the quality of the drivers at this point.
Yeah. I
think.
agree. Yeah.
so yeah, rough race for the Ferraris. Max taking the win. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a record. That is 12 wins in a row. The first coming the end of last season.
Yeah. Abu Dhabi.
I guess that's 12 wins in a row. I still want it to be within the same season.
Just wait
so
till
we'll
next
just wait
weekend.
till next week. But it is a record, beating out the 11 wins in a row by the 1988
correct, yeah.
MP44. They're also fixing to break another record,
Correct.
which is leading the race for right now. They've led 95% of the races this season.
That tracks.
McLaren, they actually had just over 97% of the races led over the season in 1988. That's crazy.
Extremely
team.
impressive.
Yeah.
Quite
And great
the
to see
team.
them back where they belong.
Yeah. McLaren was up there, like we said this week. They weren't able to salvage their record. Mind you, that's so far removed. That's obviously a completely different team other than the name and the legacy. But, good for Red Bull. Max getting his 7th in a row. He is 2 away from tying Sebastian Vettel's record for 9 wins in a row, also in the Red Bull. And
There's another record, too, actually, that they can break if Max hits pole and wins next weekend. That's 12 in a row from pole,
Wow.
which he could have broke this weekend. But
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. As long if you get pulled in the win, 12 in a row from pole. Wow.
So crushing records all over the
Yeah.
place.
I think all of this is to say, like, we got to give the guy and the team their due.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Max is putting in a historic season.
Yeah.
He is cementing his legacy as one of the greats. Not many people are going to argue with that, despite the quality of the livery he's driving.
Mm.
I mean, he's killing it.
Yeah. And Checo struggling only makes him look that more superior.
Exactly.
Because, you'd argue, you can put anyone in that car and they'll win. But
Not necessarily.
Not so.
Yep.
not so much. So good for Max, good for Red Bull, great for Lando. That is back-to-back P2s.
Yeah. First time in his career.
First time in his career with back-to-back podiums. McLaren, for real. We've said it before, but it is official. That is 2 different types of tracks that they have performed superbly on.
Imagine telling this to Lando 3 months ago that he'd be that close to a P1. Well, not that close, 30 seconds behind, but
I mean, close enough.
I don't think
P2,
As close
2 weeks
as he
in a row.
can get.
Yeah, I don't think
Exactly.
anybody's
He
believing
he'd
that.
laugh.
Like,
He'd laugh in your face.
Yeah.
So absolutely incredible from the team there. They did have that shakeup early where they went from a pyramid with one at the top to more of a team-oriented. I think what's the name? Stella.
Andreas or not Andreas
Stella.
Seidel, sorry.
They're technical.
They brought in when Andreas Seidel took his team.
Yeah, it's Stella or something. This is terrible. We should know this, folks. But he's the head honcho, but it's a much more of a collaborative effort.
Good.
And that seems to be really paying dividends for them. Very nice. Checo was able to climb up the grid again because it is a Red Bull, getting that podium. So nice for Red Bull to break that record with both drivers on the podium.
Yeah, and something he wasn't able to accomplish in a couple previous races where he qualified out of the top 10. So,
So very nice for him. Lewis, I feel like he's probably disappointed with that P4.
I think so too, but probably happy to get a decent result, get the points, and know that he's getting closer.
Yeah.
100%.
And also shows, where they're actually at.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was even saying after quality that he didn't expect to win.
Yeah, I mean, you drive the socks off it for one lap, but can you do that for 70 to 72, right?
Absolutely not. And here's the difference, race lap times around 1 minute and 23 to 25 seconds, where quali was 1 minute and 16.
1:16,
Yeah, which is, I believe, one of the fastest qualifying sessions we've seen at Hungary. Yeah.
So there you go. Oscar with a very nice P5. He's going to get a podium soon. I think so.
Yeah,
really
I agree.
nice.
Possibly next weekend.
Ooh. George should have been driver of the day. Checo got it, but from P18 to P6.
Yeah.
Great race from him.
Great from both of those guys. I think nice to see both of them really fighting.
Yeah. And then you have, of course, the Ferraris 7 and 8, disappointing. And the Aston Martins 9th and 10th. So Lance was able to get into the points, but
those are sad points.
Those are sad points. Aston
points,
Martin is falling off.
They got to find something.
They need some answers.
Yeah. Get back in the wind tunnel. More R&D, more development. Although at this period of the season, we often see upgrades. Not as frequent as we do in the first part of the season. So we'll see if Aston Martin is able to add some race pace, because otherwise, they're going to be fighting for those 8th, 9th, 10th positions when we've come so accustomed to seeing our boy Fernando on the podium, right?
Yeah.
So
they need a high-speed track back real quick.
Yeah. Well, Spa's coming up.
Good thing Spa's around the corner. All right, race has ended. It's time, boys, for who impressed you, who disappointed you, and who surprised you.
I'll step up and take this one for the team, boys. Impressed. Pretty hard to argue with Max Verstappen's historic run and just complete dominance and bouncing back from P2 during quali. So well done, Max. You're a hell of a driver. You're a weird dude, but I respect you.
I'm just thinking of his video of him on the private jet after he won the world championship last year, and they got the party favors and stuff like that, and he's just going nuts, laughing his ass off, and the next picture is just him
passed out,
sleeping. Doesn't strike me as a big partier, that Max Verstappen.
Yeah, when he goes hard though.
Yeah, true.
What's next? Disappointed?
Disappointed. Yeah.
Alpine.
Yeah.
They
How could it not?
got to do some soul searching here with, again, a good driver lineup. It's disappointing. Just 2 DNFs in a row when no one can afford to not finish the races right now. Points are at a premium. So definitely the most disappointing. Surprised? I'm going to say Guan Yu Zhou. I thought he just had a good weekend, and nice to see him with a bit more pace in his car, what he can do. And, he needed something from this season. And I think we're starting to see flashes of, maybe he does have some staying power in the sport, and you give him the right tools, he'll get results.
There we go.
For me, Lewis Hamilton's qualifying lap.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
I'm just so impressed by him able to. Regardless, I think even if he had qualified, like let's say Max pips him by 3/1000, right? I'm still so impressed with that. given the results over the last, let's not even say this season, over the last couple seasons, right? And again, first pole in a couple years. So thoroughly impressed with Sir Lewis Hamilton and one hell of a lap, that's for sure. And like we alluded to, he wasn't purple in any of the 3 sectors, but still managed to put it on pole. So thoroughly impressed with Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Definitely.
Disappointed Ferrari yet again. Poor weekend all over again. Struggled in qualifying and again strategy, race pace, driver management. All fails in my book. Had that not been the situation, we could have seen a 4th, 5th as opposed to. I know it doesn't sound like a big variance, but if you look at the lap times, 40 seconds off the pace from Max. That is atrocious. They're almost lapped. And for the legacy team that Ferrari is, and the prowess and the power that they command, you expect a lot more. So thoroughly disappointed with the Ferrari team in general. And surprised. As ridiculous as this sound, Checo did surprise me once I saw, and George, I guess, but more so Checo, just because we've seen him start from further back in the grid this year already, hasn't been able to achieve the podium. So, I was a little surprised to see him. I thought it would have been a Max and McLaren, let's say, podium, but for Sergio to hold on to 3rd place and handily as well, I'll give that one to Red Bull.
And the heat's been on him, obviously. So, extra
stepped up to the plate.
Surprising.
Yeah, when the pressure was on, for sure. Good call, Greg.
Point.
Yeah.
Who impressed me? Mr. Daniel Ricciardo.
Hey.
Can't forget about our boy.
Can't forget about our boy getting into Q2 and coming back after that tough start, getting hit from behind and beating Yuki in qualifying and in the race for a nice P13. That's an easy one. I think that's really tough to come in mid-season. You've got every other driver who's had half a season to warm up, get a feel for the season, get a feel for the track, get a feel for the car. I mean, obviously, Danny has been testing that Red Bull, but he hasn't really been testing that AlphaTauri, and we know it's not great. So very nice for him. And I said earlier in the episode, if he didn't get hit from behind by Joe, maybe he gets in the points.
He's on points, yeah.
And we'll see what happens in Spa. Who disappointed me? Joe, go on you.
Yeah.
After incredible qualifying in P5, whether that was a car error or driver error, he stalled and then rushing to get back into position, under braked, and went right into our boy, and then ended Alpine's days. That's tough. I mean, after a great quali, yes, impressed by that, but disappointed that wasn't able to capitalize on it whatsoever. To go from P5 to P15 after one turn, taking out 2 sort of 3 cars in the process, not great.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. I mean, although I picked him as would I pick him as surprised?
Surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely was surprising too for everything.
Yeah, but you're quite right. And that power unit, that performance is probably not going to keep up beyond the summer break.
No, maybe not even until next week. Like, we'll see what happens in Spa. And who surprised me, definitely the McLarens. I was on record saying I don't think they're going to do as well in Hungary because of the higher temperatures, because of the low to medium speed corners. I took Lando's word. I took him at his word.
Me too.
And maybe
Took
he
the
was
bait.
like, I took the bait, and I should know better. But very nice for them. Definitely here to stay at the top. I don't see what
appears so.
could happen. I mean, something drastic would have to happen now for them to screw this and head it to the other back in the wrong direction. So very surprised and very impressed. I mean, it could be either or for McLaren, but great to see that the historic team has now entered the fold.
Back where they belong.
We got a nice little competition for second place in the constructors for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and consistency too. I know it's only been, two race weekends, let's say, but again, can't knock the McLarens right now. They're definitely coming on strong as the second half of the season rolls around.
And if they can close out at Spa with a result,
another podium.
yeah, watch out.
Can't stop, won't stop. And speaking of Spa, it's Mikey's favorite race. It's Greg's maybe also
It's
favorite
right up
race.
there,
It's up
yeah.
there. It's everyone's favorite race. It's great to drive on the F1 game.
Spa Francorchamps.
Francorchamps. I mean, a little bit of controversy around the track, especially after the death a few weeks ago in the Formula Regional, and then, of course, Antoine Hubert's death. It's a dangerous track, but the argument we made is that maybe you take it away from the other categories. You leave it in F1, no question. It's a historic track. It's almost always a great race unless it gets rained out and Nikita Mazepin gets fastest lap.
George gets his first podium.
George gets his first podium. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's right.
That God lap he put in the wet.
Quali.
So we're super excited. That's only a week away. When are you going back to Portland? Thursday. Man, just like that, eh?
Quick and dirty.
He gone.
Gone. So we'll be watching via distance again. Maybe we'll do a watch party. We got to do that before.
We'll get a live going, yeah.
But no, it's going to be a great race. And I mean, anything? Do you expect anything different from any of the constructors?
If there's
or
weather,
the
there's
drivers?
guaranteed to be fireworks.
And there typically
guaranteed.
is.
And there typically is. You're right about that. At least one day throughout the weekend, we should see some precipitation. We'll say.
Yeah.
But
Is that because it's in the hills?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's right up there in the Belgian mountains, much like Austria's in the Styrians. So yeah, elevation for sure, and that's what I love so much about Spa is the use of
elevation.
exactly.
It's like 4 different climates on a track at some point.
Right? Yeah, and you're weaving your way through the mountains, up and down and around, and I think it's a true representation of a Formula One Grand Prix track. It demands high speed. It demands focus. It also exposes liveries where if they're not good in high speed corners, if they're not good in medium low speed corners, if they don't have straight line speed, Spa will expose you. So I think we're going to learn a lot about what the rest of the season is going to look like, just the way it's been shaping up.
Agreed.
You know, we were seeing teams starting to change places in the constructors. Max is going to run away with it, but very excited to see what happens for the remaining 19 positions.
Yeah, exactly. I think also this is a track that if you've never watched Formula One, this is a good weekend to subscribe and get locked in because, it does offer a little bit of everything. And it is the pinnacle of motorsport, this track.
Oh, yeah. And the, what's first, Radion or Eau Rouge?
Eau Rouge. And so
Into
Eau Rouge
Radion?
would be the lower section, as then you come up the hill, that's Radion.
Radion.
Crest.
And that's the spot where we have seen, the majority of, unfortunately, those serious incidents in the past recently as well. However, they have made changes to that area. They've increased the runoff area to the left of Radion. Yeah. So once you come down through that dip Eau Rouge back up, that spot on the left there has been increased runoff. They've also built a new grandstand there as well. Yeah. Big, a couple thousand seats there. So, they're investing in the track, so I can't see Formula One leaving anytime soon.
I wonder if we'll get some new camera angles.
I hope we do.
I was just going to say that might be, like, even the last few years, that might be the best shot in F1 is going up Eau Rouge from down low.
Like, watch them under full load and in that off-camber corner. Yeah. Oh, it's just... Yeah.
And
poetry.
There's we've seen some of the greatest passes in the history
side by
of the
side,
sport,
right?
Side by sides.
And Eau Rouge is, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm quite often wrong, like all of us. There's a river or a natural river that kind of runs and follows the same course down the hill there.
Correct. Yeah, and the reason Eau Rouge en français. Yeah. So red water or red river.
Red rum.
And that's due to the stones or the type of rock. Gotcha. Sorry, that's within that river. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a red hue or tinge. We'll say.
Wow.
So that's kind of where the name came from.
Come for the hot takes, stay for the history lesson.
Know that.
No risk of erosion there?
They have combated that over the years, and it appears they've done a great job at it.
Speaking of erosion, just quick shout out to everyone here in Nova Scotia for
good God
enduring a second set of natural disasters here. Like even my drive into Halifax from the South Shore today was a little bit hairy and a lot of detours. So
and
hope everyone's doing okay out there. Jeez.
Also, I noticed a couple sections too where I'm like driving by the road and I'm like, there's not normally water there.
Yeah.
And it's a healthy body.
Or there was highway there. And she gone.
It's gone. Right, yeah. For those of you who are from outside the province, areas of Halifax and Bedford, which is, like 10 minutes away. It's all the Halifax Regional Municipality. West Bedford got 288 millimeters of rain. That is almost a foot of rain in 24 hours. It's the most rain Nova Scotia has ever seen in that time span. We had a bunch of lakes overflow, and it seems like the future's bleak, folks.
Yeah, we got to make some adjustments.
We really do. It's the consequences of our actions over all these years.
Formula One
Whoops.
to blame.
Is Formula One to blame? No. But
We're all to blame.
But we are going through the Ferrari fuck around and finding out phase right now, environmentally.
correct.
Right
Yes.
about that.
So we had the horrible wildfires in Tantallon and in the South Shore in Shelburne. Biggest
Barrington Passage,
biggest fire in Nova Scotia
I drove
history.
through there actually this week
you?
You
too.
could see it from the plane on the way in.
I bet.
No, that must have looked
wild.
crazy.
Yeah.
And then the flash flood on Friday, and it unfortunately 4 people are still unaccounted for.
I believe one has been found.
One has been found
They found the child. Yeah.
dead.
Oh.
Shit.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. Very sad.
Stranded in the vehicle and then tried to make way.
Yeah.
Oh,
And drowned.
brutal.
And they were all young too.
Yeah, 2 kids, a youth and an older gentleman. So really sad stuff. I mean, water is terrifying. It's the most powerful force on Earth, other than gravity, I guess. I don't know. It's maybe even
Other
more
than
powerful.
the Red Bull.
Hey, there we go. We turned it around. Whew, it's getting hot in here. And yeah, it's unfortunate. So hearts go to those affected. And because now, I mean, we have people who have lost their homes because of fire. And now we have people whose basements and homes are flooded because of the rain.
Businesses, yeah.
Yep.
Not great. Anyways,
We're thinking about you.
we're thinking about you. Spa next week, and that means we need to do podium picks. And on a higher note here, who'd like to go first?
Gregor, fire us off, buddy.
Okay, I'm not going to be a dum-dum this time. Max Verstappen will win this race. By how much? That
correct.
might be the only thing in the balance.
At Spa, like a minute.
Yeah, it's technical as hell. But I'm going to say P2, Lewis.
Ooh.
P3, Lando.
Greg, those are some great choices. No doubt about it. Max is running away with this again. Turn 1 at Spa has produced a lot of drama in the
That's
past.
true.
Yep.
Get a little hairy.
So, and it was kind of tight off the start, given also that Lewis was on the dirty line. Max had the race line for the start in Hungary last weekend. So, is Lewis going to qualify like that again? I don't think so. So I've got it.
Yeah.
Max runs away with it. Minute gap at finish.
Yeah.
I think it's a Lando third consecutive second step on the podium, and then Checo comes through on third too. So basically like a repeat.
Repeat.
I hate, but just working it out. That's my
I like
that's
it.
my podium.
Yeah, I don't see Lewis repeating that. Sorry, Greg. The Hungaroring is actually historically one of his best performing tracks.
Yeah.
I think that was his ninth pole.
Yeah.
Yep.
So won't repeat it at Spa. I don't think that car's got it in for that.
Yeah, not for Spa either.
No, exactly. It's just I think he's gonna get exposed.
They struggle with straight line speed. That's where Lewis was losing time at Hungary.
Yeah.
So if he's losing time in the straights at Hungary, what's
Couple
he going to be
straights
losing
in,
at Spa?
Belgium, eh?
Yeah.
that are significantly longer.
Yeah, unfortunate. So I'm gonna keep this short and sweet and to the point. Max, Lando, Oscar Piastri.
Oh,
McLaren gets
I
a
would
double
like it.
podium that they've been chasing for the last 2 races.
Would love to see it.
what a great way to go into summer break.
Damn right. Well, fellas, it's been an absolute pleasure to
Right?
record the first episode of this season all together in
All
the studio.
boys.
Yeah.
Oh shit, are we doing a shoey? We promised.
Yeah, we got to do a shoey.
Fuck.
Oh god.
You were about to say lights out.
I was not going to
Yeah.
say anything. I was hoping we were going to get out of it.
Greg and Mike have new white Nikes on, so it's looking like it might be the,
I think mine are older, but I got to fly back in these. So
might be the
Oh,
RBK.
there we go. What a hero.
Oh, let's show them what we got, boy. Show them what you got.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be some sweat involved.
shout out to my dog Georgie girl. There's a lot of her hair in this shoe, so
Oh yeah, we're definitely not using that one.
not happening.
Okay, I'm going to go get another beer, folks. We'll be right back.
Right.
All right, folks, we regrouped. We took a quick break, a quick pee break. The tanks are emptied because it is time for the shoey. Are you doing yours?
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, wow.
What a gent.
The new Nikes. All right, so we got individual shoes.
I feel so bad for you, Mark.
That doesn't smell great, but we're going to do it because Danny Ric is back in F1, the shoey king. He finished P13, not the points, but close, but got to Q2. You got Oscar
shoes, eh?
Piastri
I can do that.
killing it. The other
I've had
Aussie.
worse.
And Lando is a honorary shoey guy.
Yes.
He's done it. I think Max has done a shoey. Absolutely disgusting. So
if you're
we're
on a
gonna do it.
podium with Danny Ric,
You're doing a shoey.
100%.
No question. And it was that podium in Monza where Lando had to do that shoey. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. We're using Boxing Rock, hockey puck. I don't know if
Lauderdale.
Boxing Rock has ever been part of a shoey before. It's probably usually
Loaferdale today.
what's
Yeah.
that? Foster's beer. Do you think Foster's has been the beer that's been used most in a shoey?
well, it is piss.
Yeah. I was
So
going to say,
It
for them,
is
I hope not.
Piss. All right. Greg actually did a shoey in our first season.
That's correct.
He used a Blundstone. Absolutely disgusting. I think he got bits of shoe down the throat.
Who knows what else?
Who knows what else? And so do you angle? Do you pour like that?
Oh, you got to angle.
Yeah,
you
you got
gotta
to create
angle.
a small
You don't
cup.
want it
Gotta
going
angle.
down to the toes.
No,
Definitely not.
Little
So-
cup there.
Okay, I guess I'll do the honors, or do we want to do it all at the same
Oh,
time?
think
we're
we
doing
could
all the same. We're
just-
cheersing.
It's a
Oh
race
my
against time,
God.
though, because it will absorb into
Yeah,
the,
Yeah,
the
that's the
soul of
thing,
the shoe.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Yeah.
say when, and I'll
When?
pour in. Here we go.
That's good.
Hey, a third of the beer in each shoe.
Right? Yeah.
All right. Cheers,
All right,
boys.
folks.
Welcome back,
Cheers.
Danny Ric.
It's
Welcome
the
back, Greg.
shoey.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Danny Ric.
You know, not that bad. Not that bad. I did see a hair immediately,
Ugh.
and I think I swallowed it.
Like, not going to lie, there is a distinct foot taste.
There is.
Little bit of,
But not
yeah.
bad, Mike.
That's
Thanks,
a
eh?
that's a
Thanks,
foot
eh, man?
lager.
That's
Hey.
sign of a good buddy right there.
Oh my God! Well, I'll tell you what. The casuals are here to stay for your
right.
entertainment. If you were listening, you're definitely going to want to check that out on YouTube or on our social medias. Give us a follow. Give us that 5-star rating.
Get your bell on.
Get your bell on
Subscribe.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Check us our socials at F1 Casuals. That'll be posted within the next couple of days. Oh, starting to feel gross. All right, folks. Until next time, it's lights out.
See you on the grid.